Hey YouTubers, this is Jacques from Jacques Photography, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about the FUJINON 80mm macro with image stabilization and my relationship to a macro lens. Now before I begin, make sure to check out some of the other lens reviews I have, which include the FUJINON 16mm f1.4, the 90mm f2, and the 35mm f2. Also remember that when you like, share, subscribe, you help to keep this channel alive. Now I've always had a sort of funny relationship with my macro lenses in my photography and video lens collection. To me, the macro is a lonely beast. By this I mean that for all but the macro photographer, the macro is a lens that stays huddled in the far reaches of one's lens collection, and just when you feel it is time to get rid of it to make place for the next latest and greatest piece of gear, you need it. When I say need, I mean need in a bad way. Macros are not lenses where you can accept that less than par quality like a blogger lens or a walkabout lens or a B-roll lens. The images they create must be tack sharp, right on, and emanate quality. Let's face it. Whenever you are pushing into a shot, be it for photo or video, the lack of crispness, color rendition, and resolution stand out like a sore thumb. So the financial conclusion is that a macro lens is a lens that is a necessary evil and a necessary expensive evil. Therefore, knowing that you, the viewer, are probably watching me right now and deciding whether you're going to fork out $1,000 on a lens or not, I will do my best to bring you the right conclusion on the FUJINON XF 80mm f2.8 LM OIS WR macro. The FUJINON 80mm macro is a Fuji X mount lens that offers 16 elements in 12 groups. In all these elements, we have one aspherical element, 3 ED elements, and 1 super ED element. With the APS-C crop, the factor it is basically a 122mm full-frame focal length equivalent. The weight is 750 grams, which is not surprising as it is a quality lens with image stabilization. Quality and image stabilization mean weight, plain and simple. It has a maximum aperture of f2.8 and its filter size is 62mm. Length of the barrel is constant. The lens also features an OIS system to suppress shift shake. Fuji claims a full 5 stops of image stabilization. Other claims are quiet focusing via a linear motor. It is also water and dust resistant, boasting 11 dust resistant seals. All these claims, I can tell you, are indeed true. In my experience, the lens was found to be quick and accurate at focusing and quiet. Stabilization is indeed impressive. Build quality and ergonomics of the 80mm is hard to beat. It features a fantastic aperture ring, huge quality rubber-coated focusing ring, and a fully metal lens mount system. It is indeed built like a tank. Fuji also took into consideration the workflow of macro photographers by paying close attention to the feel of the focusing ring on this camera. It is one of the best manual focus feels I have had on any Fuji lens that I have tried so far, especially if you're talking about focus by wire. Overall focus speed and capacity to respond to small focals is great. Although I did feel some focus hunting at times, it was mostly due to my not setting the lens distance switch on the side of the lens in the right spot. Images for both macro and portraits blew me away. Bokeh that you'd expect on a high-quality macro lens is there. It is indeed a softer bokeh than I have seen from any Canon offering I have used, bar none. Images are characteristic of the whole Fuji line. Sharp, crisp images with fantastic color contrast and little distortion or softness around the edges. So my general conclusion with this lens is that it has the ability to capture both macro shots and render a beautiful bokeh effect for any part of your workflow that might need it. It's a fantastic lens. If you feel that there is a big enough need for an excellently rendered bokeh in your photo or even video workflow, this lens might be great for you. it does cost a pretty penny and might need you to find not only the bucks to use this lens, but also the need to fork out $1,200 US for this lens. Again, macros are not always needed, but when they are, they really are. Therefore, the only time I think it might be good for you to sit back and say, I'm going to go out and buy this macro lens is if you are a macro photographer or you are a portrait photographer. For me, there is not much to say that is really bad about this lens in any way. Quality is great. You get for what you pay for, and FUJINON delivers 100% with this lens. There is no doubt about it. But are you ready to make that jump to have a macro lens for macro? Again, the necessary evil presence is there. Do it or not.
Hey YouTube, has decided to pixel peep a tiny bit. Listen, you don't have to watch this part of the video, but it's just to show you some of the images I did catch with the 80mm f2.8 macro lens. Now let's look at some stuff quickly. I wanted to show you this image because, and when we go in nice and deep onto this image, you can see the focal point I chose was on the chain itself. And as you can see, it is getting a nice sharp image where the focus is. Now, you don't have a lot of room for wiggle on the focus area on a macro. It's just the nature of what macros do. That's the way it is. Also, I just wanted to mention here, do not worry about the little color effects here. This has nothing to do with any purple fringing or CA's, chromatic aberration. Do not worry about it. It's just the color of the light that was happening on that day. And that is proof right here in the chain. You can see there's a bit of a reddish hue to our Canadian winter light. Next picture I wanted to show you was this one. Just to give you an idea of what sort of bokeh you can anticipate when using this lens, you can see in the back, the blur is just phenomenal. It's a really nice blur. And if you come in here, you can see that this is perfectly in focus and looks great and nice and sharp. I'm working with RAWs. If you can check it out in this image right here, they are RAWs. A couple of other images. Again, same thing, sharp as hell around these areas wherever you pick the focal point. And if you go back, you can see the blur gets even more dramatic. It's basically what happens with a macro is when you actually do portraits with the macro is that the blur is so dramatic and so extreme in the background that it becomes sort of a backdrop no matter what you're shooting against. As long as it's far away and out of the focal range, it'll give you a backdrop look. So that's why a lot of people like to use the macro for portraits. The only problem with the macro is once you use it for portraits, you're using a razor thin depth of field. Next picture, again, just another image that shows the quality. Let it load. The quality right here. You can see wherever I wanted it to go and focus in, it did a great job. Here's another image right here. Taken obvious, you can see in the dead of winter. As I load it up, you can see the quality of the shot. See what is really fantastic are the little subtleties in the rust here. And I thought it was really cool because that can only come out with good color contrast. You know, there's gray, rust, and a bit of white, a bit of frost in there. But all those colors come out and they pop out nice and clean. This was taken from afar, and I thought it was a good image to show the quality of the bokeh and the quality of the actual lens when it is in focus. Here's another shot inside. Really like this because of just the steel, the look of the steel, and how the Fuji X-T2 with this lens is capturing that texture very well for many various reasons. The image processor, the sensor are great, but the lens is doing a great job as well. That's all I wanted to show you guys for that. Let's go back to Jacques and his overall conclusion on the Fuji 80mm macro.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Again, like, share, subscribe, and by doing that, you support and make sure this channel keeps on going. And don't forget, Keep on making something from nothing.